Hello. So I have another My Hero Academia family video. This one is going to be for Sisters Day. And so I'm going to be going over a bunch of the different sisters that we've seen in My Hero Academia. And this is also going to include the ones that are in Vigilantes as well, because I have read that and I like Vigilantes, as I've mentioned before. And they do have connections to like the main story and everything, to a degree. So yeah, I'm going to be going over the different sisters, and then the other Family Day one is going to be Grandparents' Day, because there's not really like a whole lot of cousins that we ever get introduced to in My Hero Academia, if any. But yeah, it'll be Grandparents' Day, which is going to be a small list, but I'll see what I can find for what to do with that one. Because there's not too many grandparents that get shown, but we'll see what happens there. Of course, I always tend to start with the siblings of Class 1A. So, of course, the most predominant sibling that we tend to see with Class 1A is, of course, Fuyumi Todoroki in regards to the sisters. Technically, I would say the most predominant figure we see in regards to siblings in Class 1A is Dabi, but I already talked about him. Fuyumi is, of course, the second child of Enji Todoroki and Rei. She is currently 23 years old. I believe she is a teacher, and like her mother, she has an ice quirk. We don't know how powerful it is. It might be just like a mild ice quirk where she can just make small amounts of ice, or it might be a more powerful one, but because her father didn't end up, trying to train her in how to use it as much, maybe she just didn't want to go down the hero line of work. Although I have seen a lot of different like fan fictions or fan art where like all of the different Todoroki siblings like learn how to use their powers and are really good with them. And then anyone that tries to hurt Shoto, they mess them up really well. Because scary Fuyumi is not a good thing. Or angry Fuyumi is not a good thing. Her brothers are, of course, Toya/Dabi, Natsuo, and, of course, Shoto. The little bit that we do get about, like, her relationship with Toya is she's, of course, a couple of years younger than him. And as I mentioned before in some of the other Todoroki family videos where I discussed this, while Shoto may think that, like, his father continuously was trying to make, like, the perfect child, the way that we kind of get in the flashback that we see with, Toya's flashback and stuff, it's not necessarily that that Endeavor was trying to make this perfect creation again and again and again, with Fuyumi and Natsuo again, even though they already had Toya. Because I don't think there's enough of an age difference between Toya and Fuyumi for Toya to have started to show his quirk by then, or for them to know the extent that his quirk was going to hurt him. So I don't think that there's that. But we see that, Rei's like, well, why don't we have some other children so that way, Toya has someone to play with. And, Endeavor seems okay with this. And that's where we get Fuyumi, and then we get Natsuo after that. And then by then we, of course, know that, how Toya's power works and that it does tend to hurt him. And then they end up having Shoto. And then, of course, we have a whole issue between Dabi and Shoto. And that's kind of been worked out a little bit in the manga at the moment. We'll see what happens. But one of the things is, Fuyumi tries to have good relationships with her brothers. She tries to, when Toya is still alive, tries to have a good relationship with him and everything, but he's kind of standoffish. For Natsuo, they seem to be the closest out of the siblings, Natsuo and Fuyumi. And then, of course, Fuyumi is, of course, very intent on trying to help take care of Shoto. And we see this throughout the course of the manga and the anime. She, helps Shoto here and there, encourages him at times. We see the way that Fuyumi and Natsuo tease each other and everything, particularly around their mother. We also see that Fuyumi, of course, tends to be the main one out of the Todoroki siblings that wants to at least try to develop a better relationship with her father. And it's partially, I think, in my opinion, just from what we've seen of Fuyumi, it is kind of because she would have been at a very impressionable age anyway when her mother was sent away. And of course, her and Natsuo have continuously gone to see their mother. Probably as much as they could after, Rei was, put away. But, and even now, there's supposedly that Endeavor had been setting it up for, Rei and Fuyumi and Natsuo and Shoto to be able to live in a separate house in like a different area of town that was closer to UA, so that way they didn't have to deal with Endeavor and he would stay in their house. And so that way, the siblings can work on fixing their relationship as much as possible with each other and with their mother and everything without having Endeavor around. Which I've gone over that in some other videos in regards to Endeavor and Rei's relationship. But, Fuyumi tends to be, she kind of took on the motherly role in regards to, Natsuo and Shoto as much as possible. So we see that. We know that she is, of course, aware of what happened with Dabi, that Toya becoming Dabi in regards to, she's at school teaching when like the giant attack happens. The giant battle happens between, all the heroes and the meta liberation army, paranormal liberation army, whatever you want to call it. Between them, and she, watches as like Dabi's, speech is given and everything while she's teaching, and that just like we see her and Natsuo's reaction to it, and she's just like, I would say that she is to a degree extremely sad by the fact that it's like, it's conflicting emotion because it's like, my brother's not dead, but my brother's been twisted into this villain and he's trying to kill my youngest brother and our father, and he wants to destroy Hero Society, and he's my brother, but he's not really my brother anymore. And like, it's this whole conflicting argument that you have to go through in your head of like, where does Toya end and where does Dabi, this monster, begin? And that's kind of like one of the things that like the whole Todoroki family has to deal with in that regard. So we kind of see that through the course. We know that through the course of that part of the manga, and we know that Fuyumi is in agreement with her parents in regards to wanting to take down Toya, because it is kind of like he's this problem that we created and we have to take him down together. As far as we're aware, I'm pretty sure that Fuyumi and Natsuo and Rei are currently at like UA in like the safe area with all the different parents of the rest of Class 1A and the rest of the students and everything. So we probably have that. Moving on down the line to another sibling, of course, from Class 1A, we have, we can talk about Tsuyu a little bit because her and her sister, Satsuki, who is 6 years old, are, of course, sisters, and they have their brother, Sanadime, whatever, I don't remember his name, sorry. Tsuyu, of course, has 2 younger siblings. I talked about her parents, her mother and her father, and her brother in the previous videos. I apologize if you hear the beeping outside. Someone's backing up. So we see the way, we don't really get too much of an interaction between Tsuyu and her siblings. We know there's this OVA episode where we like see her and her family and everything, and she's very protective of her parents. She's, watches over them when their parents are at work and everything, and she's the oldest, so she takes a lot of responsibility in that regard. Again, we don't really see too much about them. Tsuyu, of course, is one of the most popular characters from My Hero Academia. Not that I blame anybody. I love Tsuyu. Call me Sue. I love her. She's great. Frogs are great. I love frogs. We see that Sue is, of course, also very protective of like her classmates as well and everything. So we see a lot of that, and we also know that Sue is very smart and tactile to a degree in regards to how she uses her quirk with her camouflage, with the way that she fights with her tongue, and the way that she fights with being able to like stick to walls and everything. So I like how they do that with her. And it's to be assumed that like her parents and siblings are, of course, at UA, which pretty much until we get like different explanation as to where any of the parents or siblings are, just assume they're at UA because that's like the safest place for them to be as far as we're aware. So yeah, just like that's where they are. We'll probably get like maybe some checkups on them. I wish we learned a little bit more about some of the other parents in Class 1A or some of the other siblings in Class 1A. Moving on down the line, we have some to a degree villainous siblings. Well, this one's not a villain, but unfortunately her brother became a villain. We have Hana Shimura, who's of course the sister of Tenko Shimura, aka Tomura Shigaraki. I don't remember if it's 100% stated, and the dog is trying to put his nose out the window again. Are you going to try to put your nose out the window? Right. Eyes has window as hat. Hi, Mom. Yes, I'm going to go back to recording now. Now if I tilt this way, you can at least see the dog. There. Now you can still see the dog. Yes, they can still see you because you're cute in a channel mascot draw thing. Right, whatever. I'm a puppy. Yeah, I know. Slide this way. But, you know, I don't remember if it's ever 100% stated whether or not Hana is older than Tenko. I believe she is. She appears to be the older sibling. And we never get anything stated that they're twins. But the way that she tends to be around him implies that she's kind of the older sibling. The main interaction, of course, that we see with her is, of course, when her and Tenko are, of course, children, because that's the only interaction we see with them. And, you know, she very much loves her brother. She's, you know, sad whenever her father is mean to Tenko. She tries to encourage Tenko as much as possible. Wherever she can, she shows him, you know, it's like, I found this picture. It's our grandmother and our dad and everything. And it's just like, our grandma was a hero, and, you know, and like, and we'll become heroes too and everything. And we never get any indication of what her quirk is. As I stated, and I think it was either the Mother's Day video or the Father's Day video in regards to Kotaro, their father, that there's like the possible theory that, and I might do a separate video on this, but there's a possible theory that Kotaro particularly married a woman who maybe did not have a quirk, so that way there was a less likelihood of having a child with a quirk. So I might save that for a different video, but I went over that a bit in the, like, I think it was the Father's Day video where I talked about Kotaro. But one of the things that we do see, of course, is she, you know, there is this tendency among siblings that, like, if the father or the parents is trying to, you know, get information out of one of them, you know, sometimes they may crack. And it's not like, it's like, it's one thing if Hana was like a teenager or something and then she blamed Tenko for what happened with them finding the picture. But she's a child. She's not that much older than Tenko. Tenko is probably 4 or 5 years old at the most at this point in time when we see them have this interaction, because his quirk hasn't quite activated yet. And, you know, it's not surprising that, you know, she kind of, you know, tattletaled or, you know, tried to save her own skin, which, you know, she's not that much older than Tenko. I'd say like, you know, 7, 8 at the most. Not a huge amount of an age gap between them. But, you know, she still loves her brother. She tries to go out and comfort him after their father has yelled at them and everything. And unfortunately, in that time frame, along with their mother and their grandparents and then their father and the dog and everything, you know, she unfortunately gets disintegrated, killed, when Tenko's quirk activates. And she's gone, and of course we know that one of her hands, or both of her hands, are preserved by, you know, Psycho Doctor. Went over that in a video. And now that those hands are, well, I believe all of them are gone now anyway, but, you know, they were part of Shigaraki's costume. I don't remember, I think they were some of the ones that were on his arms, if I remember correctly. Because it was like, Nana's was the back of his head, his mother's were around his neck, his father's was on his face, and then like his grandparents and Hana were like on his arms, and then there were like 2 random thugs that he killed that had on his arms. But we did get an interesting moment in one of the chapters recently where we see this, I don't remember which chapter it was, but where we have this image of like Tenko as a child, dark hair and everything, trapped within like these binds of what are clearly a representation of All for One, trapping him in. And like the trappings of his own mind. So there's there's a possibility that we might get a little bit more of a flashback in regards to that. So I'm recording this before I've read the most recent chapter. I don't remember what number chapter it was, but we'll see what happens with that. We'll see what we end up getting with that. Down the line, and I went over this a little bit in the brothers video, we have Eri. And I put Eri in here as like kind of having brother figures in regards to, of course, Izuku and Mirio. We know how much she adores the two of them and how the two of them adore her. We know how much she kind of, just loves being around them and how much they treat her like a little sister. Izuku is the first person to ever show Eri kindness, as far as she can remember, and then of course she watches as, Mirio protects her and everything from, Saikai and everything, from, Overhaul. And so we see a whole bunch of that in regards to that interaction between the three of them. We see how much the two, Izuku and, Mirio try to make Eri happy, at the sports festival, or not the sports festival, at the cultural festival and everything, for how, entrenched they are in wanting to make sure that she has a good time and, is able to smile for the first time in a very long time. And we love their reaction when she smiles. Or I do at the very least. Someone might hate that scene, which is like, no, this is a small child that is happy, that is nothing but pain in their life. I do not like this. No, I hope that's not someone's reaction to that scene with Eri during the performance. But we see a lot of the interaction between the three of them in regards to that relationship. We know that Eri was able to use her power to, reverse what happened with Toga with his quirk. So he is now able to have his quirk back again. Of course, he's running around the battlefield and everything, helping with that. He just had this great moment with Shigaraki in the chapter and everything, which, do you not know what friends are? Of course I have friends. Okay, fine. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to insult you not having friends. I'm sorry. That moment. So, we kind of see that relationship between the three of them, and Eri is currently at UA. Toga, Mirio is currently, on that. I will mention this. It is stated in regards to Himiko Toga. It is stated in her backstory in regards to, like the news reports that like Curious writes about her, that she does have siblings. So she is a sister, but we don't know if she has a brother or a sister or both, or, whatever. Having Himiko as a sibling would be a very interesting experience. Look at Fuyumi in regards to the way that she acts in regards to having, Dabi as a brother, but she didn't know that for a long time. And it's not like, she didn't kind of watch her brother go insane. Toga's siblings possibly kind of watched her kind of go the way that she became, the way that she currently is in the manga and everything. And had to live with that for a lot longer. Whereas the Todoroki family was under the impression that that Toya was dead. So yeah, Toga's siblings. Yeah, we'll see if we find out any more information about them. Next up, we have some vigilante siblings that we're going to talk about. I talked about this pair a little bit in the Brothers Day video. So we have Makoto Sukuachi. I apologize for mispronouncing that. She is the sister of the detective, true man, Momasa Sukayuchi. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce some of these names. I apologize. He is, of course, her brother is, of course, All Might's friend that is the detective that kind of is like, he has like a lie detection quirk or something like that. And his sister has a very similar quirk in the fact that she can touch someone and she can like kind of do like what a polygraph can do, where she can like, watch, can feel if their heart rate stutters or something like that in regards to, doing a lie detector test. And we actually learned that via, explanation from All for One, that their ancestor, that Makoto and Namasa's ancestor had a similar quirk to them, and that All for One took that from him, and uses that himself to determine whether or not someone is lying to him, or trying to deceive him or whatever. We learned about that with Aoyama. And Makoto tends to be, she's in Vigilantes. There's a possibility that maybe she may pop up at some point in the actual My Hero story. That would be interesting if she ever did. But she is kind of like the general manager for like the Captain's Celebrity Corporation by the end of this My Vigilantes story, which is finished up recently. And she, of course, has like a really good relationship with Koichi and with, Knuckle Duster and with Pop Step and everything. And, really loves to be around them. And, she kind of helped with, making sure that everybody got help that they needed as much as she could, talk to her brother. And like her and her brother kind of have like a very interesting relationship because, he kind of knows that she kind of knows something about, the vigilantes that are going around. But she won't tell her brother who she thinks they are, because initially it's her trying to figure it out for herself so that way she can impress her brother, I believe. And then she kind of, develops a really good friendship with all of them, and she's just like, I don't want them to go to jail. I don't want them to get in trouble for this, because I've met them and they're just people that are trying to do the right thing as much as they can, even though they're technically vigilantes. And we see, her relationship with her brother where they tease each other a lot and everything. And, she doesn't have a problem with like standing up to her brother at times. It's funny because like her brother won't tell her anything about All Might, which I understand. So it's like this opposing thing where it's just like her brother knows about All Might's, slim form, slim down, weak form, several years, because like in the My Hero Vigilantes, we actually kind of see the moment where he kind of figures that out with All Might and everything at like the diner, with All Might running back and forth in and out of the diner, going big and then getting small and going big and getting small and everything. So we see that, but like he won't tell his sister anything about that, and she won't tell him anything about like Koichi and like the rest of that group, about the vigilantes, which is just kind of funny. So it's like they both have their secrets, so it's just like I'm not gonna show my hand in this poker game. I ain't showing my hand in this poker game. So we have that funny bit there between the two of them, that relationship, which is just nice. Not really too much else in regards to that, but yeah, I like their relationship that they show. I would really like it if they did like an animated version of Vigilantes. That would be nice if they did the anime of it. That would be interesting. We would at least get more backstory on some of the minor characters, and of course on Eraserhead and Present Mike and Midnight. Oh bro, on them. Moving on down the line, another one in the in the Vigilante setup, we have the Feathers sisters. So in Vigilantes, there are these two girls, Miyu and Mayu, whatever, and then Yu, who are twin sisters, and they are these this kind of dance performing group that are called Feathers. And I do not remember if we ever find out if they have quirks. I looked, I could not find anything if they have quirks or if it's just never mentioned. Their performing doesn't have anything to do with their quirk, and I don't remember why they're called Feathers, but like they're these performing duo that ends up performing alongside Pop Step at various points in time. And we have Miyu, who is the mean one, and then we have Yu, who's like the other one, I guess the nice one or whatever. We see them throughout the course of the Vigilante series. They end up helping later on because I think they find out about Koichi and Pop Step's, real identities and everything, Crawler and Pop Step's identities, and, are like their friends and everything. And I think it's Miyu, whatever. It's Miu, so I apologize if I mispronounced that. It's, sometimes she's like kind of like a bit of a catty person. Like she'll like, talk about someone behind their back or whatever like that. Like she criticizes Pop Step a couple of times. And Yu isn't as willing to do that, but she's still not exactly like she'll still kind of go with her sister, but not to the extreme that her sister will do with like criticizing someone or talking about them behind their back. So that's just kind of nice. Um, you know, we know that the two of them, you know, are part of the group, because part of the vigilante group, not them as vigilantes themselves, but like they help gather information or they help with like, you know, I guess alibis at times, as we see them throughout that part of the story. I like them. They're cute. They have blue hair. That's not evident in the manga, but like in the cover pages, or not the cover pages, in like the manga covers, we see them and they have blue hair. So blue. Next one. I think I only have like 3 more left. So, slight reference here to, I mentioned this character in the Brothers Day video. We have Innes Moth's sister, who Innes Moth and his siblings are this annoying small, like, I don't know, smuggling group of villains that like Suyu, Soki, and Sirius end up dealing with in, you know, when Froppy's on her, you know, internship and everything, and like they have to deal with them, and she's just like this one little side character that we see. They're arrested. We don't know nor care anything else about them. Then we have Maharo and Katsume, which is why I'm wearing my Heroes Rising shirt, because they are actually on the shirt over here. It was like the only My Hero shirt I had that had siblings on it, so I was just like, okay, I wear this one. Maharo and Katsuma, excuse me, are you know, they're the siblings that are in Heroes Rising. They're on, what is it, Nabu Island, I think is the island that they're on, where the class 1A is like doing kind of like, you know, temporary hero work or whatever, for the purposes of the movie. And so we see them there. They're the kind of the main focus of the story is, of course, 9, the villain, is trying to get to Katsuma to be able to take his quirk so that way he can, you know, I guess fix himself and everything. So, you know, we have that whole instance. Maharo is very protective of her little brother. And she does not want him to be a hero, because she's like, well, his quirk isn't very good for being a hero because it can just heal people. So it's like, it makes sense for him to like want to be like a doctor or something along those lines, but him wanting to be a hero, she just can't comprehend that at the moment. And, you know, we know how she's like more than happy to like, you know, criticize Izuku and then Bakugo and get yelled at by them and everything. And I swear to God, she looks like she could be Bakugo's child, their sister or something like that, with her attitude. You know, but we see, you know, her and Katsume, you know, develop a better relationship with Izuku and Bakugo throughout the course of the movie and everything. And, you know, they try to help. And, of course, by the end of the movie, they're reunited with her father and everything. So, you know, and she's more willing to, like, you know, encourage her brother in regards to, you know, wanting to be a hero. So I like how they do that. Her quirk is that she can make illusions. So we see her do this a couple of times in the movie. I think it's twice is what we see her do it. One is like she tries to use her power to like trick Izuku and Bakugo by making like this giant praying mantis looking monster. And then Bakugo just figures out within like 3 seconds that it's not real, because it's like, oh, it doesn't cast a shadow, so it's not real. It's just like, decent concept there. And unless the praying mantis' shadow got taken by Moria in One Piece, but that's a completely different story. Now that I think about it, I don't know if the guy that voices Moria voices anyone in My Hero. I may have to look into that. I don't know. I want to do the voice acting videos at some point in time where I talk about different voice actors. So, but we also see her when Izuku is when Izuku is fighting 9. She makes like this giant kind of, it kind of looks like a cartoonish version of Izuku, but we don't know how long it takes her to like plan out her illusions, but she makes like this giant kind of like inflatable version of Izuku that like draws everybody's attention, so that way they're able to come and find Izuku. And then Bakugo shows up and he helps with fighting 9. So there's not really too much else there. And then the last little bit that I had for a sister, we have Lala, who is Rhodey's soul and Roro's sister, and she is, of course, from the World Hero Mission movie, the most recent My Hero movie that has come out. She is Rhodey's younger sister. And she is, I believe she's the youngest out of the three siblings. I believe Roro is like the middle child. Because like when we see the flashbacks with them as kids, Lala is like, still like a baby, and Roro is at least running around. In regards to the flashbacks that we see with them, I talked about Rhodey a lot in the Brothers Day one, where he's, very protective of his younger siblings, wants to keep them safe. To a degree, was willing to kind of sacrifice the world's, quirks in regards to, in exchange for protecting them in regards to the way that, Humorize or whatever it was called with Fleckturd, stupid name, with the way that way that he tried to, it was just like, oh, we won't activate the chemical in the area where your siblings are, so they should be fine, as opposed to, oh, your siblings will die if you don't do this. And of course, Rhodey still makes the right decision and everything. And we see at the end of the movie that he's, reunited with his siblings, and he, wants to do like better and actually have like an actual job to help take care of them. And Rhodey also very much encourages Lala and Roro in regards to, their school and work, or their school and their studies and everything like that. He very much wants to make sure that they have the ability to have an education. So I like how they kind of do that with Rhodey, and the way that Lala is. She's cute. I think she's cute. But that's about what I have. There weren't really any other siblings that I could think of that sisters that were in regards to my hero, or at least none other ones that I could think of or that I found when I was doing my research. If it's mentioned somewhere along the lines that like some other random character has a sibling, I don't remember. I'm sorry. I just don't remember. I missed that throwaway line possibly. I know there's theories that like, Kirishima would be like a really good big brother, which I agree with. Kirishima would make a great big brother. There's, some of that, but I don't really know if there's any other stuff or any other thoughts or like any of the other, class 1A or anything like that. And then there's like some stuff where it's like, we don't know that much about like class 1B. So maybe some of them have siblings and we just don't know about it, because it's not something that has come up throughout the course of the story, and we don't spend as much time with class 1B, and Horikoshi hasn't really given us too much other stuff in regards to like class 1B's bio beyond like their quirk and their name and their hero name and some other bits about them, but we don't really know that much about their families. Most we know is that like, Pony's family is in, I think she's from America, because she always speaks English, and then they have to like tell her what to say in Japanese or whatever. So that's about all we get. We know someone else is from China, and there's like some other bits, but there's not really anything else we learn anything else about them. So that's what I have for this. I thank you for watching. If I happen to miss a sibling, a sister in the series that like I just skipped over because I just didn't think about them, or I wasn't aware that they were someone's sibling, comment about that or whatever. Or if you have like a moment between, one of the sisters and their siblings, put that down. I really like the interactions that we see between Fuyumi and Shoto and Natsuo and such, and those interactions with them and such. And I would like to learn more about some of like the family lives of some of like, the UA students, the class 1A and mostly class 1A, but class 1B a little bit to a degree, just to kind of see, their families a little bit would be nice in my opinion. So that's what I have. I thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoy the video. And dog. Bye. Say bye, Rainy. I don't think he's going to say bye. Bye.
Daddy said all that stuff, but don't worry, I'm on your side, Tenko.